My BioWare insider has reached out to me once again and confirmed what I had predicted in my previous coverage and what many other people have suspected as well. And that is BioWare didn't just do a reorganization and shuffle people around, but they actually let people go. A lot of people, even though they didn't even acknowledge it in their blog post because they were afraid of YouTubers exposing it and talking about them because they didn't want people to say any bad things about BioWare. So they just screwed over their own employees by not even telling them up front and letting everyone know publicly what's actually happening. Transparency. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Smash JT. And I had my insider reach out to me once again regarding what's going on behind the scenes at BioWare because holy crap, not just people are being let go in droves like they are doing a complete shuffle reorganization, but my insider also gave me some information to disperse to you guys about what they feel like is going to be happening to BioWare Edmonton and how the rumor of Edmonton potentially being shut down is still quite alive and well. Hit that subscribe, give me a like, and check out smashjt.com for the full article breaking down how BioWare is in complete damage control mode right now. Everything seems to be falling apart, and they're doing their best impression of sticking their head in the sand and hoping that nobody notices that they have lied by omission. BioWare ripped a page out of the modern journalism playbook and was not being entirely truthful with their customers about the state of their workforce. While the company skirts around the words and remains silent on mentioning anything to do with layoffs, now former employees have taken to Bluesky to express their frustrations, ironically inadvertently exposing BioWare's attempt to downplay the situation and mentioning how BioWare themselves were more concerned about public perception and YouTubers making videos on it than actually informing their own employees about what's actually transpiring, which is wild to me. It's like, guys, take care of your business. Do not worry about YouTubers covering the situation. Handle your stuff and be honest about what's happening. I also spoke to my insider discussing more information about what's going on behind the scenes over at BioWare, but before I even get to that stuff and the exclusive info they gave me, for full context, we need to take a look at those who have been affected by the layoffs because all I can say from these responses on Bluesky is yikes. It's not a great look. From the blog post specifically, Gary McKay, the general manager of BioWare, stated, "We have incredible talent here at BioWare, and so we have worked diligently over the past few months to match many of our colleagues with other teams at EA that had open roles that were a strong fit." And looking at that, it sounds all well and good, but all that jargon dances around what really happened to those that weren't matched to the other teams at EA, and the fallout from it hasn't been pretty. Specifically, most, if not all of the writers and editors have been completely slashed. Anne LeMay on Bluesky kicked it off by sharing her experience. And she said, "I was a writer at BioWare for 5 years, 2011 to 2016. I leaned a lot during that time from exceptional folks with an X in many disciplines, but also specifically from my fellow writers and our amazing editors on both the Mass Effect and Dragon Age brands. Today, not a single one of those writers and editors remains employed there." And while it can be unfortunate to see people lose a job anywhere, here's the situation with these people working at the game company. You can only break your heart so much before you look at the reality and say, maybe you weren't great at it. And that might be why the company's in the predicament that they're facing right now, if we want to start taking any accountability. I can't help but chuckle at the irony in her post specifically. A professional writer of 5 years at BioWare making multiple grammatical errors while simultaneously lamenting her own employment loss, leaned instead of learned was just the icing on the cake. Folks, it's times like this where I take Asmongold's stance on the loss of employment in the games industry. And paraphrasing what he said, "Too bad, so sad, you aren't good enough. The customers responded by not purchasing your slop, and now the consequences are you're out of a job." I don't feel bad for people like this because believe me, if the same were to befall YouTubers covering situations, we all know they'd be the first ones dancing on our graves. And we've seen it before plenty of times in the past, so it is what it is. Unfortunately, this is what happens when you don't do your job properly. And we have Jen Chevery saying, "After almost 14 years at BioWare, I am devastated to learn today that myself and others must seek new opportunities. I am so grateful for all the learning, challenges, and most importantly, the team. I will remember my time here with joy. Tomorrow, we'll move forward. For today, I will just be sad. And it continues with Ryan Cormier saying, "So my time at BioWare has ended. It was a wild ride with some fantastic people, but it's time to look for new challenges. I'm an editor, writer with 26 plus years of experience across video games, novels, short stories, newspapers, and marketing communications. If you know a good fit, please let me know." And then we move on to Karen West Weeks, who says, "Hello, I'm looking for work, ideally in an editor role. It's been an honor to work with so many talented professionals and a pleasure to meet so many amazing community members in my 19 years at BioWare. I'm so grateful to all of you." And followed up by Trick Weeks, who says, "I'm now looking for a new writing narrative position. It's been a privilege to work with so many amazing devs over my 20 years at BioWare, and I will cherish the memories of the wonderful folks in the community I've met along the way. Thank you all." And looking through all of these, most of them have over 5 years experience, but the vast majority are like 15, 19, 20 plus years experience. And it's like, holy crap, these people have been at this company for so long, it makes you wonder, were they the ultimate downfall of all these past 4+ games that were not successful from BioWare? These first-hand accounts paint a very different picture from the one BioWare tried to push forward with their studio update blog post from the other day. This isn't just a minor shakeup, this is a full-on gutting of their experienced writers and editorial staff, and potentially far-reaching beyond that as well. The lack of transparency is extreme, and it was something I called out in my previous coverage of the situation. How can they seemingly sidestep any mention of layoffs? The math just wasn't adding up whatsoever. It was a PR puff piece trying desperately to save face, but at the end of the day, the only thing being saved was the pie to be thrown on their face when the truth comes out. And here we are. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when I start seeing a lot of different people being let go at the same time from an organization, and all of those people have a tremendous amount of experience, you start to look into the history of what they've worked on in the past, the games that have come out, the things that they've done, and the monumental failure after monumental failure. And you wonder how they've stayed on board for as long as they had. I feel like there's a lot of questions to be asked in that specifically. Who was enabling it? Who was encouraging it? Who was promoting these people? Why were they staying on board, losing hundreds upon hundreds of millions of dollars while they were forcing ideologies down the gamers' throats, where gamers wanted nothing to do with it for the better part of the past decade? And finally, BioWare seems to be having an about face and realizing the error of their ways. Now, with all that out of the way, let's go to what my insider actually had to say about this, because holy crap, this is going to blow your mind. The team on the current project is expected to be fewer than 72 members for the time being, until production begins. Only the core team members are being retained to refine the pitch and ensure the mistakes from past projects are not repeated. The situation is critical for the studio's future. So even my insider is trying to paint a picture of it's a very dire circumstance that they are doing everything they can to take the buckets and throw the water outside of the boat so that it can stay afloat right now. And so far, it's not looking great. The concept of becoming more quote-unquote agile likely involves rotating team members in and out based on project needs. Additionally, it would not be surprising if by agile they meant that the Edmonton site is expected to close and remaining staff will be working off-site. This will help reduce costs while keeping the operations going. So, opposed to what Jeff Grubb was trying to say after he stole the story of me and Grums talking about this of, oh no, he's not hearing anything about the Edmonton studio shutting down. No, those rumors are false. My insider is repeating that rumor once again right now and saying that this is going to be something that potentially could happen as soon as February 2025 at some point, all the way to whenever the town hall ends with EA and when they actually have that. It's not necessarily at the very beginning of February, it could be any time in February. But stay tuned because this rumor is only picking up speed. It's not going away. A full shutdown was a real concern, which would have negatively impacted both employees and the community. This restructuring is seen as the best possible outcome, despite the challenges caused by some individuals who pushed an agenda that wasn't aligned with the core vision. Which, in layman's terms, they're being very kind about talking about the wokeness that has run amok in the studio and how some of these people working there were going out of their way to inject their own personal ideologies into what they were working on, regardless of what the players actually wanted to play in their games. And that's where the severe disconnect was in all of this. But again, and I'll talk about this in a minute too, to be clear, this is from an insider related to BioWare. And I can assure you guys, not all of BioWare was like this, which was what was causing a lot of the internal strife. BioWare Montreal, who saw Mass Effect Andromeda fail, were not given this opportunity. They were closed down entirely, and their staff had to find new studios or be laid off. Now, again, I want to remind everyone, because this is the most important takeaway I want everyone to have, is not every employee at these companies is this woke, narcissistic, psychopath, colored hair loser that just wants to inject pronouns and ideology. No. There are some very good employees at these companies. This insider strikes me as one of those people, and they have confirmed with me that there are other people like them at the studio, and they're hopeful that they are being recognized for being based and want to move forward with making the studio better for gamers, making games that gamers actually want to play instead of games injecting ideology and trying to insert that into their life and hoping that they somehow conform into this weird outlook on life that nobody wants to take part of when they're playing a video game. My biggest takeaway from all this was additionally, it would not be surprising if by agile they meant that the Edmonton site is expected to close. That right there reaffirms there are still many legs on the rumor that BioWare Edmonton may be shut down following the EA town hall sometime in February, which we don't have an exact date for at this time. The environment at EA's BioWare is anything but stable, and it's looking like it's going to get a lot worse before hopefully rebounding. And we can only hope that this is the rock bottom moment where they have a come to Jesus and realize, oh crap, we're going to be out of a job and the company's going to have to shut down if we don't recognize what customers actually want to purchase. Hopefully BioWare finally realizes that the damage done by the poor decisions over the years with narrative direction and hiring practices has only hurt them. If there's any silver lining in all of this, it is that perhaps, and just perhaps, this will be the wake-up call needed to refocus on what truly matters, making the kind of games that gamers actually want to play with great employees that love making games working at BioWare to make those games for us. And here's hoping, but it's going to be interesting to follow the story because holy crap, what a roller coaster it's already been. And I got a feeling there's going to be a lot more news that comes out before we see the end of this story, either one way or the other. I'm going to leave it there. If you guys want more information, check out smashjt.com for the full article, all the quotes, sources, screenshots, everything that I could find for all this. Huge shout out to my whistleblower that continues to contact me with information about what's going on there because this person genuinely cares. They're not trying to ruin BioWare. They're not trying to get all this information out there and destroy it. No, they want to make sure that people hear what's happening and tell you that BioWare is starting to hopefully understand the error of their ways and move forward in a better way. If you guys appreciate what I'm doing here, hit that join button. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, you stay smashing.
I think that incompetence goes all the way down to the bottom, and it also goes all the way up to the top. I don't like this narrative that's created that the only people that are making bad decisions and are bad at their job are the people that are at the top, and there aren't individual developers that don't know what they're doing. Because, like, there's all the time, like, little bugs in games that aren't fixed, and it's like somebody, like, did this wrong. It's not like this is some kind of fucking like, you know, the CEO of the company isn't coming in there and telling them, oh, put this bug in the game.